السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين، ورضي الله عن أصحابه وأحبابه وأزواجه والتابعين، وعنا معهم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. ما بعد, last time we talked about the station of ikhlas. So we talked about ikhlas and the various levels of ikhlas and what ikhlas means. If we have mastered this, because ikhlas is needed to start anyway, it's your beginning. If we've mastered this, then we go to the station of discipline. Station of discipline. Il-ishara, and you know there's sort of there's few kinds of tafsir, not two kinds of tafsir. There's many kinds of tafsir. There is tafsir, obviously, al-Quran bil-Quran. There is tafsir fiqhi of the Quran. There is tafsir linguistic, tafsir of the Quran. There is from the language. Why did Allah say this, did not say this, etc. There is tafsir, other things. Among them there's ishara. Ishara means signs. So this is a bit more lax. If you don't want to call it tafsir, it's fine. You can call it whatever you like, maybe, in that sense of taking signs from, or ishara, from the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And from that, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Surah Al-An'am said, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, فَلَمَّا أَفَلَ قَالَ لَا أُحِبُّ الْآفِلِينَ. When it became, when things, Ibrahim, if you remember, Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi wa ala nabiyyina wa alihi afdal as-salam wa azka as-salam, when he was going back and forth with the people who were worshipping stars, and again worshipping, after the star they started worshipping the moon, after the moon they started worshipping the sun. And the reason they started worshipping all these things, they said, well, the moon is bigger than the star and the sun is bigger than the moon, and every time something disappears or changes, then they're in trouble. You worship the star as long as you saw it, but then you say this is God. Then what happens when the sunshine comes and you can't see the star anymore? What happened? You're gone. Gone? So this was a problem in a sense. And therefore he at the end says, قَالَ لَا أُحِبُّ الْآفِلِينَ. Sayyidina Ibrahim says, I do not like things that are subject to change. What does that mean? That means it's a tawheedi issue. Like it means that the Creator Jalla Jalaluhu is not subject to change. Do we understand each other or not? Why would the Creator not be subject to change? Why wouldn't the Creator be subject to change? Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is change a creation or creator? Creation. Can the creation subjugate the Creator? Allah makes changes, not the other way around. So Ibrahim, when he's telling them, if you see these things change, they appear, they disappear, they come, they go, these are signs of the creation. This is not sign of the Creator. Anyway, the ishara from this, La uhibbul afilin, I don't like those who change, is what Ibrahim is saying, alayhi salam. Huh? You don't like those who change. None of us like those who change, especially from good to bad. Because change can be either from perfection to imperfection, or from imperfection to perfection. There's no other change. You either change from imperfection towards perfection, or from perfection towards imperfection. Obviously, both are inappropriate to the Creator and inapplicable. Can you say the Creator changes from imperfection to perfection? Can you say the Creator changes from perfection to imperfection? Are inapplicable. Change is inapplicable to the Creator. Like on the level of the creation, Ibrahim also is telling them, ishara from this, if we want to take it in a science of the suluk or ihsan, قَالَ لَا أُحِبُّ الْآفِلِينَ, I don't like those who change. that you don't like. Do you like those who change? Hatta on the creation level. Somebody loves you and he changes. You like that? You don't like that. No. You don't like that. No? Wait. The ishara meaning from this change business is discipline or lack thereof. How the ulama of suluk or the ulama of tazkiyya and self-purification took that? They took it from discipline makes you persistent. Lack of discipline. You're changing every day. Discipline, you're focused. You know, lack of discipline, one day here, one day there. So that's where they took the ishara from قال لا أحب الآفلين. Ibrahim saying لا أحب الآفلين, which means I don't like things that change. Is the ishara meaning from that, or the symbolic understanding from that is, I don't like things that change, means I don't like things that have no discipline. In that sense. And therefore, discipline in the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ulama uslub, they call it mihna or fitna. Fitna means what? What does fitna mean? Huh? Huh? Calamity. What else? Trial. Fitna in the Arabic world comes from fatana. Fatana talks about the gold. When they used to extract gold in the old days, I still probably do, I don't know. Once I see gold, I'll let you know. When they take gold in the old days, they take gold also when they extract it, it's got other metals or other things with it. What they would do is they would throw the gold in fire. And the melting of the gold, they call this fitna. To separate the gold from the no gold. This is the real meaning of fitna then. Fitna, the real meaning of it, is not really a calamity, nor a trial per se, or a test per se. It really is separating the gold from the, whatever you want to call it, from things that are attached to gold, or they may look like gold, or they may shine like gold, or they are latched on to gold, or they are attributed to gold, or they're attached to gold, whatever it is. That's really what fitna is. And therefore they said, they said, discipline is fitna for the people of beginners. Beginners. Fitna, why fitna? Because we talk about what is suluk? It's purification. Purification, right? When we say ilm al-suluk or ilm al-ihsan, to go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's what? Purification of the heart, by definition. Well, what do you mean by purification? How can you have purification? Purification means fitna by itself, doesn't it? Because when you purify the gold, you gotta burn it. That's why they said, then discipline is fitna. Why? For the beginners. Why? Because it is purification, and purification is difficult. It's difficult. There's 3 levels of discipline. Let's talk about the first. The point of difficulty is because it's like any other. The ulama of suluk call this riyada. Riyada means practice. Any other thing that you practice. Hatta even going to work early in the morning. Those of you who go work, you have to be at work at 5 a.m. after Fajr. Slightly before Fajr here. In Africa it was after Fajr. We were praying at 4 a.m. Fajr, 4:30. Like, you have to do it every day at 5. That's discipline. Difficult at the beginning or not? Difficult. You gotta go through the purification process. So you put things to help you, you do things to help you, you go through the motion until you get the discipline. Then you become disciplined. Now, if you've been doing work at 5 a.m. every single day, after a few years, it's becoming routine and it's easy. But at the beginning, it was difficult. That's discipline, exactly. Yeah. طيب. The first level is discipline in the khidmah. Discipline in khidmah. قال أهل العلم, this tahdib in the khidmah or discipline in the khidmah, why is this, why do they put the first thing khidmah? We talked about that especially in the saluk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everybody does their adhkar, their dhikr, everybody does their salah, everybody does their zakah. You gotta do these things, they're fard on you. Everybody does their hajj. These things are fard on you. Lakin, when you say, I want to go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that means you're doing something extra. What is that extra that you do? Extra worship, extra zakah, extra siyam, extra hajj. That's good. The gateway to the ulama of suluk, the gateway of khidmah, servitude, is what separates the men from the boys. Why? No one can tell how your extra salah is, your extra siyam is, your extra hajj is. This is between you and Allah. Lakin servitude is what? Following the path of the anbiya. Allah sent the anbiya to do what? To serve His creation. That servitude of the creation, following the path of the anbiya in this aspect, first is you're going to have what? Discipline in khidmah. And again, we talked about Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, and we are still remembering his days today, Subhanallah. Radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Mighty, Sayyidina. Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani, when he talked about the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the closest ones, you remember about that. So those, when he says there is that, I stood behind those who were people of dhikr, only to realize that there are many people who do much more dhikr than me. I stood behind those who do charity and zakah, only to realize that there's many people who do much more charity than me. I stood behind the line of those who do ilm, only to find out that there's people who spend their whole lives in ilm, etc. Like, I went to the gate or to the door and the line of servitude and khidmah, I found it empty. Nobody wants to do servitude. You tell people ilm, sure, that makes them alim, and that means he becomes better than other people in his eyes, maybe. You tell him give money in front of people and others, he says, Alhamdulillah, I have done something. I am doing something. You tell him give this or do dhikr, he says, Alhamdulillah, I'm dhakir, I'm doing something. Like in give khidmah, it's indignifying. So that's where the problem is. Now, La ilaha illallah Sayyidina Muhammad Rasulullah. Talking about Sayyidina Abdul Qadir, I think I saw him in a dream earlier today, last night. For whatever reason, Allah knows. Now, Tahdib al-Khidmah. So, disciplining the khidmah. How do you discipline the servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? They say, I'm doing servitude to the creation. What does this have to do with Allah? Everything. If you're doing it for the creation, then you've got other issues, other business, other things to worry about. It has to be that you're doing everything that you do for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the beginning. Your niyyah must be for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Forget about it. You mean even if I come clean the masjid? Exactly when you come clean, you're not doing it for the sake of the masjid, you're doing it for the sake of Allah. How about if I go visit someone who's sick? You do it for the sake of Allah. How about if I help somebody who's in need? You do it for the sake of Allah. Once you associate any other reason, you're losing your whole thing. So how do you then discipline or purify the servitude? Because the beginner is tested by what? Or trialed by what? Servitude. Don't give me all these things that you can do, and then when you are tested with servitude, you bail out. That's what separates people, correct or not? This is what Musa alayhi salam, what did the Sahaba radiallahu anhu told Sayyidina Nabi Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? They told Rasulullah, we will not be like Bani Israel. What did Bani Israel tell Musa? They told him, Ya Musa, اذهب أنت وربك فقاتلا إن هاهنا قاعدون. Look, Musa, you and Allah, you go and fight. Why do you need us anyway? You're powerful. Allah is with you, you are Nabi, you don't need us. You go, you and Allah, and fight. We are here waiting for you. Once you finish the fight, come let us know. What do I need you to fight? Why do I need you then? Huh? So Sahaba told Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, they told him, Ya Rasulullah, we will not tell you what the people of Musa told Musa. Go you and your Lord and fight. Here we will be sitting waiting for you. But we will tell you, اذهب أنت وربك فقاتلا. Go you and your Lord fight. إنا معكما مقاتلون. We are fighting along with you. So therefore, that separated as-Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'in from what? From the people who were with Musa alayhi salam, and separates the people today and tomorrow and until the day of judgment. طيب, how does it separate it? The discipline in servitude. Discipline in servitude. How is the discipline in servitude? That number one, and again I said that's for the beginner. The beginner is disciplined with servitude. Not the middle or the advanced people. You can't go to middle and advanced if there's no servitude. You can't go to university if you have not done your high school and elementary school. Now, قال بعض أهل العلم, some of the people of ilm, they mentioned that it should not be mixed by ignorance. Khidmah, servitude, should not be mixed with ignorance, or arrogance. How so? They say because khidmah has adab. فإن الخادم إن لم يكن عالما بأدب الخدمة أوردها غير موردها وفعل أفعالا يعتقد أنها إصلاح وهي فساد. What does that mean is, if the person who is doing servitude, if you are trying to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you're going through the discipline in your servitude towards Him, the first issue in the discipline in your servitude towards Him subhanahu wa ta'ala is that you have no ignorance in it. What does that mean, you have no ignorance? That you always stand correct based on what He would want you to do, not on what you have in mind to do. So then if it's required from you to do something that you did not have or do not have an anticipation, then you say, you know what, I'm not going to do this. I can do this if you want me to. You're doing khidmah of yourself, you're not doing khidmah that's selfless. The khidmah has to be what? Selfless. So that's why it cannot be what? Involved, or it cannot be mixed with ignorance or arrogance. Why? It will spoil the servitude. Also, not only spoil it, it will lead to more corruption or damage than good. And imagine someone who, for example, wants to do servitude in, let's say, in any capacity. Let's say answering the phones. You say, I'm going to have answering phones at the masjid. Can you do servitude? Yes. He takes servitude, he's not having a good day, and he starts screaming at people or treating them improperly. Does that do good or harm? Harm. You betrayed the amana, number one. Number two, this is not your service, not your nafs. You're serving for Allah, but you're now mixing your ignorance and arrogance and self in the servitude. That's why not only are you spoiling your own action, time, effort, and servitude, but you're causing also harm, which you will be responsible for. Do we understand each other? Yeah. Right. So first, because al-jahil, the ignorant, if they cannot stand according to the deen, they do things they think they're good, but they're indeed wrong. For example, someone who wants to do siyam, to fast in the days of tashriq. هذا آثم. He's sinful for fasting those days of tashriq. Not just that his fast is not valid, But he's sinful by fasting. Usually fasting should not get you to be sinful. Sinful rather than just invalid. Notice. And that's the thing. So, therefore, servitude, because what's the objective of your servitude? Isn't the objective to be close to Allah? You gotta observe that. That's your disciplining measure. Number two, for the beginners, that the discipline and servitude, that it should not be based on your habits. Otherwise, we're not getting purified. You're not walking and changing. Oftentimes people, especially us here, alhamdulillah, Allah made us comfortable in this country. In many ways that other people are not. Even when they want to work based on their habits. The whole point of purification is to get you to break your habits. The whole point of suluk, going to Allah, traveling to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is to get you to break your habits and not necessarily observe your habits. If you want to make the servitude based on your habits, well, guess what? Some habits of yours are good and some habits of yours are bad. It doesn't work that way. Remember the hadith that's Hasan, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam tells us, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يكون هواه تبعا لما جئت به. One of you would not be a complete believer until their hawa, their habits, and what they self-desire is consistent with what I came with, not what he has in his heart. So that means what? In order for you to change, you have to be willing to let go of what your set of habits and desires, whether good or bad, for the sake of disciplining and training. If you want to hold on to your own frame, you don't want to be framed. Therefore, you look at the Quran and you frame the Quran rather than the Quran framing you. You look at the Quran and you dictate what the Quran needs to tell you, rather than you listening to the Quran and being framed by it and told by it. That's why you look at the Sunnah and you select from what you like and you take, because you want to put it according to your frame. You're not willing for the Sunnah to frame you. And that's the reason for that again, is because the servitude is conditioned by habits. I'll do servitude as long as it is according to my habits. That's not walking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're not going anywhere. Why? Because the discipline is not there. Number three, which is important for the beginner who is doing servitude, is that your ambition is not servitude. Your ambition is not servitude. Why? Because if your ambition is to do perfect servitude, that's what you will get. Whenever you try to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ask big. You ask small, you get small. You ask big. Your niyyah for servitude is that you have annihilation, in the sense that you don't see anything but Allah. Not that you go to Allah and you see other things with Him. The reality of ilm and the reality of knowledge of the deen, if it does not take you so you can be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that knowledge is useless. The point of knowledge is not to get you to technically validate your ibadah and technically pray correctly. That's only the mechanics. If that knowledge does not take you to be close to Allah and be with Allah, then there's a problem with your whole ibadah. That's the point. Servitude is not supposed to stop. Your ambition in servitude is not servitude itself, but it is what? It is seeing nothing but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَوَجَدَ اللَّهَ عِنْدَهُ. That's the servitude or disciplining of the khidmah. That's for the beginners. Beginners start with khidmah. No khidmah, you're not going anywhere. Now, if the khidmah is perfect or is mastered, that takes them to the next level, which is hal. Hal means a spiritual state. Following any perfect deed. If you do a good deed, even if you fast Ramadan correctly, if you pray correctly, that prayer, which is a amal, which is an act, that will propel you to have a hal. Hal, you will gain a spiritual state and infusion from it. It will propel you to have a spiritual state. Similarly, if you do khidmah and you do it right and you're disciplined in it, that will propel you to have a hal, spiritual state. Great. Having hal is good. There are ahlul aqwal, wa ahlul a'mal, wa ahlul ahwal, wa ahlul asrar. There are people of aqwal, talk, and there are people of a'mal. They actually put their actions where their words are. They are people of ahwal, hal. These people, that means they've already mastered the amal. And then if they master the amal and they have hal, if they discipline the hal and they master their spiritual state, they go to be people of closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they have spiritual illuminations and secrets and ma'rifah and realizations, not knowledge, realizations open to them. Alright, so the second thing after the servitude then is the discipline in the hal. When you have a hal, this hal needs to be disciplined. Just like when you do servitude, servitude needs to be disciplined. Also the hal needs to be disciplined. The first discipline of the hal is that your hal is based on the Shari'i knowledge. It's based on Shari'i knowledge. What does that mean? Yani based on the Quran and the Sunnah. Otherwise that hal is not Rahmani, it's Shaytani. No problem. You all know that we're talking about Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. You all know the famous story when Sayyidina Abdul Qadir was walking in the desert and the desert was illuminated. Shaitan told him, Ya Abdul Qadir, now you can do whatever you want. Go ahead. You have arrived. What else? Who immediately came to Sayyidina Abdul Qadir's mind that this is not possible that Allah alleviates me from praying and not doing anything. So he said, A'udhu billahi min ash-shaytan ar-rajim, or whatever he said. He realized it was shaitan. So allegedly shaitan told him, Ya Abdul Qadir, how come you knew it was me? He said to him, Allah did not alleviate the prophets from ibadah to alleviate me. So I knew it was you. Huh? This hocus pocus business, Mulana, take it elsewhere. Well, you can make business and make good money. Or put some bakhur, smoke different smokes here and there, say a few words, buy the big one. Guarantee for any problem. If you guarantee all the problems, why don't you fix the problem of the world, man? We'll give you money. Huh? But فالحال has to be based on what? Kitab al-Sunnah. Kitab al-Sunnah. Al-Kitab al-Sunnah. لكن حال is realization of the information of the book and the Sunnah. What does that mean? Al-Hal is a realization of information. Al-Kitab wa-Sunnah gives you information for you to be in that realization. يعني انت, you all know بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله على كل شيء قدير. You all know إن الله على كل شيء قدير, right? That's information. Have you been in that realization? Where you actually experienced Inna Allah ala kulli shay'in qadir. Where it became now, you saw it before you. Many of you have. Huh? That is the realization. Number two, to discipline the hal, obviously, is that you don't stick to the information. You base things on information, but you look at realization. Most people of so-called ilm, nowadays are ulama of information. At best, they know some information. But the ilm of ma'rifah, of realization, that's a whole different story. And disciplining the hal is that you remember that you try to go to the realization, not stick just to the information. And the third thing, obviously, also is the distractors. Hal may get you distracted. Distracted, how so? Because hal means an elevated spiritual state. When you are in an elevated spiritual state, it's like fish. Fish in the bottom level of the ocean, they have a different world. They don't even go to the middle of the ocean. All their world is in the bottom. Now imagine if that fish was to go up to the middle and say, oh, that's a whole different world there. It knows more information. It capacitates more things. Similarly with the hal. But rising, what you may see may be distractors. Because the point is not that you see more of the creation as much as you see the effects of the Creator. It's not about being close to more creation and being in awe and shock and mesmerization of all the creation that you may be privileged to see. That may be distractors. The whole point of your travel is not to be with more creation or to be dazzled or amazed by the creation. The whole journey for you is to be close to the Creator. If you're leaning to the creation, you already lost your path and you're swerving off of it. You're going in the wrong direction. It may be dead. It's definitely the wrong way. The last degree in discipline for the advanced students or seekers is the discipline of the intention. Disciplining the intention. You say it should have been the other way around. We start with disciplining the intention first. No, and disciplining the intention by words, we all do. By words, we all do. And when you start your salah, Subhanak Allahumma, if you're Hanafi, or Wajjahtu Wajhi, if you're Shafi'i, you're already making your niyyah is all for Allah. Lip service. Right? Inshallah, it's a reality. Like in your amal, expresses different reality sometimes. That's why the ulama of Tazkiyya, they started you doing with what? Amal, khidmah, servitude. Discipline your amal. And then when we refined, you come now to the refinement of the intention. Disciplining of the intention. Disciplining of the intention means what? Means purifying it. Purifying it from what? Purifying from the humiliation of forcefulness. What do you mean humiliation of forcefulness? That your niyyah, by traveling to Allah and doing servitude, it's not that you're forced to do it, so you have to do it. That by itself is called dhul, or humiliation. It humiliates you. Whenever you're forced to do something, hatta salah. If you feel I have to do the salah, it's humiliating rather than liberating. You're going through. This dhul of ikrah, or this humiliation in the ibadah, it is the ibadah of those who do business with Allah. I'll do this for you, you give me this. Like in the people who actually are the people of Tazkiyya and Suluk, they want to worship Allah based on love, not on forcefulness per se. And the worship of lovers is different than the worship of munafiqeen. Munafiqeen worship to show other people. People who do business, they worship so they can get something in return. People who love worship to be close, nothing in return. So, The discipline in intention is meant then to purify your intention, that you don't do your ibadah, you don't do your things, you don't do your qiyam, you don't do your salah, you don't do your siyam, you don't do these things so that it is because you have to do it. Not even because you want to do it. It is because you love to do it. Again, so once you go from the point that you have to do to the point that you want to do, you really have internal, I really want to do it. To the third level where you say, you don't say, but it's from you, you love to do it. هذه عبادة المحبين. This is the ibadah of muhibbeen. And therefore the ulama of suluk, they say, as much as this feeling of you have to do of worship remains in your heart, that's how much nifaq or hypocrisy is in your heart. Once you get rid of this, I have to do this, you're getting rid of nifaq or hypocrisy from your heart. Until there is nothing I have to, I want to say the least. I want to, and that's not enough for the people of mahabba or love. The people of love, they go to I love to. وشاهده حديث سيدنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله حديث سيدنا عائشة أفلا أحب في الصحيحين أفلا أحب أن أكون عبدا شكورا. Shouldn't I love to be a thankful slave? He didn't say shouldn't I. He said أفلا أحب. He didn't say أفلا أريد. Shouldn't I want to be a thankful slave? Or I have to be a thankful slave. Shouldn't I love to be? So again, therefore for the advanced is, you see, is purification of the niyyah and the deeds. So it's not that your amal, whether it's siyam or salah or zakah or hajj or coming to the masjid or whatever you're doing, qira'at al-Quran and awrad, kada, all these things, that it's you have to do this, let's get it over with, as if it's a burden. Know that you want to do it, and then obviously you have to do it, or you love to do it. Also disciplining the niyyah, not only that you get out of I have to I want to and I love to, but disciplining the niyyah so you don't fall into boredom from worship. You don't fall into boredom from worship. Once you fall, how do you fall into boredom in worship? Once you fall from I want to do it because I love to saying I have to do it because I want to, until you go, I have to do it because I have to. Once you have to do something, you'll get bored so easily. If you want to do something, usually you don't get bored, let alone love to. Because if you love to do something, you're enamored in that love. But let's just talk about between I have to do the ibadah versus I want to do the ibadah. Once you are in the level I want to do, if anything, you want to do anything. Those of you who love to eat the same thing all the time, I'm sure everybody has like some kind of favorite food. You don't get bored. Make it every day, no problem. I'll eat it. Huh? You look forward to it. Like if something is maybe, Mulana biryani every day. I tell them, I said biryani every day. Come on, what are you trying to make? Make it alternate. Alternate so I don't get bored. It means you don't really love it. Huh? If you love it, if you love biryani, what do? Biryani every day, please. Huh? No problem. All right. So the reason you get them, many people say, Shaykh, how do I do about boredom? Boredom is simply because the niyyah is I have to do the ibadah because I have to. It's not I do it because I want to, let alone I do it because I love to. And the third thing is in the disciplining of the niyyah for the advanced student is disciplining your not information versus realization. I'm not going to go talk about the hal again, but how so? How? Information, which is basic ilm, tells you you need to do this. If you say one time, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala, you are raised 10 levels, you are erased from 10 sins, you will be given 10 rewards. Ilm tells you these things. If you give sadaqah fi sabilillah, Allah will multiply it for you 10 times, and then maybe 100 times, etc. Ilm tells you this. Ilm tells you if you do your ibadah, you will avoid Jahannam and you'll enter Jannah. Lakin disciplining the realization is that you want to take the self out of the equation. You want to take yourself out of the equation. What does that mean? That I am not doing this so I can gain more. I am worshipping Allah because He Jalla Jalaluhu is worthy of worship even if there was no Jannah. Disciplining or purifying the intention here means that your love for Allah is not for a reason. Let me repeat it again. That your love for Allah Ta'ala is not for a reason. Why did the ulama of suluk say that? They say because if the love was for a reason, then maybe it will be weakened once you have that reason satisfied or fulfilled. And then it's still contingent on the reason. What reason should make you love the Creator other than the Creator Himself subhanahu wa ta'ala is worthy of your love? You're seeing reasons, they say. You're not seeing the one who created reasons. And that by itself is a distractor from the Creator. Yani, to the ulama of suluk, love for a reason itself is a problem because there is no sincerity in that love. So they want the love to be selfless in the sense. And therefore, yani with this we'll finish inshallah ta'ala, and they want their love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a love that is increasing, not subject to other things. If it increases, it gets better, and it gets you closer. It's not subject to this or that, and therefore the purification, now we said purification in the servitude, purification in the hal, and then purification in the niyyah, and purification in the love. And therefore this purification or discipline is based on ilm, but not limited by the ilm that we know. Because a hal is not governed necessarily by the laws of mathematics, though it's based on ilm. Anyway, with this inshallah ta'ala, one should be able to navigate through the station of polishing or the station of disciplining self. قولوا قولي هذا استغفر الله العظيم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد. If there's any questions.
In the state of how, what is the best way to do realization of the information?
حكيم اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما والحقنا بعبادك الصالحين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وآله في الأولين، وصل على سيدنا محمد وآله في الآخرين، وصل على سيدنا محمد وآله في الملأ الأعلى إلى يوم الدين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا، وانفعنا بما علمتنا، وزدنا علما وعملا وحالا وفقها في الدين. صل اللهم وسلم وبارك على سيدنا وحبيبنا وأم قلوبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا، والحمد لله رب العالمين. إن شاء الله next week we'll continue.